Hi there, my name's Vince from Mr. Telephone, and today we're going to be talking about IDC punchdown tools, also known as Telecom tools, also known as Krone tools, because Krone were the original people that made them. Now, the punchdown tools are these. You use them to punch the wires into the telephone sockets or the data sockets. You have a Krone version and you also have a 110 version. The Krone version are the type that's normally used in the UK and Europe, and the 110 version is used a lot in America. But in the UK, you will often find Krone and 110. So later on in the video, I'm going to show you the difference, how you can spot the difference when you're looking at a socket, whether it's a Krone or a 110, because you must use the correct tool. And at the beginning of the video, I'm going to talk about Krone tools, how they work and the difference between them, because you can get ones that cost £1 and you can get ones that cost £25 to £30. So I'm going to show you the difference between them and also how to use them when you come to terminate your sockets, or your telephone sockets, your RJ45 sockets, whatever your junction boxes, whatever you're terminating. Now, I will go through the tools in a minute. First of all, I'm just going to show you how to terminate them on the sockets, because it doesn't matter what tool you use, it's the same process. Now, when you look at these sockets on the Krone, you will see on the little IDC punchdown strip here, you will see that they all have a shoulder on one side. So I'll just let you zoom into that one now. And if you see, the shoulder is where my finger is here. Okay, and it doesn't matter whether it's a junction box or whether it's an ADSL faceplate. You see there's a shoulder down there, or whether it's a little telephone socket, you will see one side always has a shoulder. Now, the idea of the shoulder is it lets you know which side you're going to put the cutting blade on. Now, obviously this plastic one doesn't have a cutting blade. That's one of the difference between the cheap one and the more expensive ones, but the wires always go in the same way. So if we take this junction box here, the wires need to go in this side here. Okay, and then this side will be the side that gets cut. So the wires always go in the opposite side of the shoulder. So I'm just going to punch it in using the plastic tool. So punch this in like that, and then I'm going to use the proper tool on the bottom one. And on the proper tool, it cuts the wires. On the plastic tool, it doesn't cut the wire. So on the plastic tool, you are going to have to just snip the wires afterwards, like that. The reason we snip the wires is because if they overhang too much, then they can touch each other, and that will short out the line or put a fault on your network if you were using it for data sockets. So, knowing which way to put in the IDC tool. Have a little go with it gently and you will see. When it goes in this way, it goes in nice and easy. When you try to push it in the wrong way, it doesn't want to go in. Okay, you could force it in, but then you're going to damage the IDC, and you're also going to damage your tool as well if you're using these little plastic ones. So on this plastic one, there's a giveaway. There's a little cable guide there. So the idea is your cable goes in that one there, and your cable goes in. Just do it down on there, it's easier. There. So you push it in that way round, and that bit there is for the cable, and this bit there is the cut. But you can tell anyway, because when you push it in, for example, that's now the wrong way round. It's not wanting to go in. If I put it in that way round, it goes in nice and easy. It just drops in, doesn't drop in. Okay. Same applies to the more expensive tool. If you do it the wrong way, obviously if you do it this way, you're going to be cutting the wire that you're pushing in. So, but again, you can see it's not wanting to go in. Put it in that way and it just drops down. Yeah. So just give it a little test first if you're unsure, because it can be confusing. On this one, it's kind of obvious because there's loads of gap here to put the cables in, and the cable tie little connector is here. So that one's kind of obvious. But when it comes to this master socket here, this will be a bit more confusing because you're wondering which way to put the wires. So again, you see that the shoulder is this side, and again, do a little test. If I put it in the wrong way, it doesn't want to go. Okay. If I put it in the right way, it does go. Yeah. Same with the plastic one. Wrong way, doesn't want to go. Right way, drops in. Okay. So make sure you put it in the right way. Now the IDC is a clever little thing. What it does is it's a metal V, and when you push the wire into it, it cuts the sheath on either side to touch the copper on the inside. So if I put this, let's pull these wires out. Now this wire here, there's no break on it, it's just a nice clean wire. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the IDC slot and then pull it out again, and you're going to see where it's cut the wires. So it goes in the IDC slot. Let's use the cheat tool. Punched it all the way to the bottom, and now I'm going to pull the wire out, and hopefully you will see. So if I, it's going to be hard to see. Let's see if I get this light on it. You might be able to see that it's cut the plastic here and at the bottom. It's cut it here and here, slightly at an angle, and it's touching it on both. It's gone through to the copper on both ends. So if I pull that apart, you see there, it's gone. That's where it's broken it. So it's broken the sheath on the outside to touch the copper on the inside, and that's how it's. That's how an IDC connection works. Now the difference between the tools. You have this cheap plastic tool that I've just shown you. This literally just pushes the wire in. You then need to snip the wire yourself. Next, you get these ones. These are all over eBay for a couple of quid. They're not very good at all. They look like the professional tool, but they don't work very well. A bit of a giveaway is if you were to read the box, you can see that although it's in English, it's not written. It's not actually written in English you can understand. Various producta make the job more convenient. Product spelt wrong, then specially. So so that's spelt wrong as well. So it's got a load of spelling mistakes on it. These are just cheaply made in China, and yes, they do work. They are better than these. For example, when you punch the wire in, it does cut the wire. But you often find they can be hard to push in. These can be hard to pull out. So they're okay, they do work, but they're not very good. Now you have these ones here, which look exactly the same, but they just feel a little bit nicer. These are the ones that I sell. They're about 7 or 8 quid, and the plastic's just moulded a bit nicer. When you push it in, it's easier to push in, and they're just nicer, and it will last longer. It will last longer than the cheap ones. So although they look exactly the same, they're not. There is a difference. Now this is the best tool. Basically, the difference between this one and my £7 or £8 one is that you can lock the cutter on this, and it's also got a sensor. I'll come to that in a minute. On these ones here, you've got a little hook. The idea of the hook, this does actually come in handy, is if you need to pull the wires out. So you've made a connection, you've made a mistake, you need to pull it out, or you need to, change the wire over because you've got a fault but you want to reuse the socket, then it's nice and easy to pull the wire out. You've also got this on the other side. I never ever use this. I think it's called a spludger. It's I think it's just literally to clean up if you have odd bits of cable that have broken down, the bits that are cut, just to clean them away. I've seen some people use them as screwdrivers to undo and do up the sockets, but I never ever use that part there. I don't think you will use it either. Now, this is a good tool. This is the Krone tool. So it's got a lot nicer action when you punch the wires in. It's got a nice action to it. Again, it's nicer. You've got little buttons here to pull that out there, and a little button there to pull out the hook. And you've also got this little sensor here. Now you've got a sensor on and off, and basically the difference is when the sensor is off, it works exactly the same as this one here. No matter what you do, when you push that wire in, it will cut the blade. Okay, so you can use it just like that. So whenever you push that in, it will cut the blade. But if you were to put the sensor to on, like that, so you've got on and off, so that's off and that's on. This is quite handy now, because let's say if you were going to connect it here, and let's say if it's in a slightly dark room, you're in a comms room and it's a bit dark, or in some basement somewhere, then it won't make the sound. It has to go all the way in before it cuts the wire. So if the sensor's off, I could think that I've made a connection if I've put it in wrong like that. So if it's dark and I've pushed it in wrong, I think I could have made the connection. But with the sensor on, it won't let you unless it's fully inserted into the IDC slot. It's got this little sensor here, little bit of wire bent over here, and that needs to be pushed down fully before it will allow the blades to cut. So it's handy if you're punching in the second wire. So I've punched in one wire, and let's say you're going to connect another wire on top of that if you're working with a telephone socket. punch the second wire in. If the sensor was off, sometimes you might think that that's made a connection because it's cut there. But that hasn't gone fully in. That's just come straight out again. But it sounded like it's made the connection. Well, if you put the sensor on, when you push the wire in, it won't go. Look, see, it's not going now until I go right the way in properly, and then it will go. And now that wire has, if I put it out, now it has made the connection. It's cut it there. So that's a handy little. It's a nice little feature. Again, you don't need it, but if you're doing a lot of work, it's handy to have that. So you know, these are the best tools, but realistically, you're probably going to be getting these for £8 or £9 rather than spending 30 quid. The other thing you need to make sure when you're punching in the wires is always do it nice and straight. So, you know, go in nice and straight like that. Don't go in at an angle. So many times I've gone out to faults, and what happens is the wire's not making a connection, and it's because previous people have either used a screwdriver and they've widened up the blade too much, or they've gone in at an angle. And then by going in at an angle, what you're doing is you're spreading that blade again. So when the wires go in, the first one might connect, but then the second one won't connect because the gap's too big. So when you go in, always go nice and straight. The middle one, it's kind of hard. Even if you go at an angle, you might get away with it. But when it comes to these edge ones, there's no support there. So it's easy to bend that. And then you bend that, you know, you end up making the metal V too wide, and it doesn't make a good connection. So always nice and straight, whether you're using the plastic tool or the proper tool, always go nice and straight like that. Okay, so that's the, one other feature of this Krone tool here, which is not on the other ones, is you can actually lock the cutter. So when you turn it to there, it doesn't matter whether the sensor is on or off, that cutter is now locked. And you think, well, why would I need the cutter to be locked? It's always handy to have the cutter. Imagine now if you've got your patch panel, and let's say if you wanted to dedicate ports 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 to voice, and then the rest were just going to be used as normal data points. But if you wanted to wire up these first 5 for voice, then a handy thing to do is pretend that this cable is connected to your master socket, and now you're going to wire it into your patch panel, and then you can patch it all around your house. Well, what you can do is, let's take the blues, because it's going to be running down the blues on the middle pair. What we can do is, we can connect it up, but now, you see, it hasn't cut. So I don't know if you can see that. Let me go around again to here, to liven up port 2. In without cutting the wires. Let me just quickly go to port 3, 4. Lastly onto 5. Well, actually on the last one now I can cut it because I want that nice and neat. I don't want the wires to overhang. So cut the last one. Okay, so what we've got here now is we've wired that all the way through to ports 1, 2, where am I? Hold on. 1, 2, oh I've missed that one there. Beg your pardon, well, I've missed out 3, but you get the idea. 1, 2, 4 and 5. I've missed out 3 by accident. But as you can see, it goes round, it loops round without cutting the wires. So now ports 1, 2, 4 and 5, or whatever I've done, 1, 2, 4. Yeah, it's going to be 1, 2, 4, 5 and 6 is live, so obviously you have to pull that out and do that bit again. But you get the idea. The wires come up, they go round, so that's a handy feature of this. You won't use it often, but sometimes you do want to connect them without cutting the wire. That's not possible on these ones. It is obviously possible on the cheap plastic one, but it's a nice little feature, and that way then all these ports are now livened up on the telephone line, these ones here, or whatever you want. You might only want ports 1, 2 and 3, you might want ports 1 to 10. However you want to do it, it's just a handy way of doing it. So basically that's the Krone tool. Now, the confusing part now is the difference between a Krone tool and a 110 tool. The 110 tool is commonly used in America, but I have come across the connections a lot in the UK as well. So, 3 different types of connector. Let's move all this out of the way. you've got your Krone. Now if you have a look at the Krone connector, they are at an angle. So if you look at the metal part there, can you see them going down at an angle? Yeah? Again, if you were to look at this one here, this is also a Krone one, and you will see all the metal ones are at an angle. Yeah, they're not straight. That's a Krone connection. If you look at this one here, you see that the metal connectors are all dead straight. That's a 110 connector. Just like this patch panel here. Actually, let's put these patch panels on top of each other and you will see the difference between them. This one here is a Krone and the one below is a 110. The Krone has everything at an angle. Just hold that one out there. They're all at an angle, the metal ones are all at an angle. But this 110 one, this is an AT&T, probably originated in America. If you have a look at these ones here, they're all straight. So that's a 110 connector. Now, years ago, there was 110 connectors and there was Krone connectors. Nowadays, you can get a hybrid. That's a 110 and it will also work with a Krone as well. So if you have a look at the difference, I'm going to hold these ones, I'll hold this one up first. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's got a little groove taken out here and here that makes it look like a butterfly. And that's to allow the Krone tool to go in. Because if you look at the Krone tool, the connections there also look like a butterfly. You see the sort of like diamond-shaped connections top and bottom? And if we compare that to the old 110, there is no cutouts. So this is the hybrid one here. Let's move to the end one. This is the hybrid one. And you can see there's like little butterfly cutouts. And that's the old 110, which is not. There's no cutouts on that. And the difference being is, let's say now, we try to use this Krone tool on the 110 connector. It don't go in. Can you see that? It doesn't go in. Either way round, it doesn't go in. So you're not going to be able to terminate these wires here with this 110 block with a Krone tool. Yeah? This is the 110 tool, and as you can see, it will go in. Yeah? It will go in just fine. Now, if we use a Krone connector with the Krone tool, we already know that that goes in fine. But if we use it with the 110, it doesn't really want to go in. On some of them, you can use it. Some of them you can get away with, but you're not actually supposed to. Can you see there? It's not going all the way in. Yeah? I mean, you could force it if you wanted to, but there's no point in forcing it. You might as well get the correct tool to begin with, and there you know you're not going to spread that metal V. But on this hybrid one that does the 110 and the Krone, you can see that it happily accepts the 110. That went in nice and easy. Can you see that? Nice and easy. And it also accepts the Krone nice and easy. Yeah? See? That's gone in. Krone IDC. Sorry, 110. So this accepts the Krone 110. So that's how you can tell the difference. So when you're looking at it, you see that there's a metal diagonal, you know it's Krone. If it's just straight, you know it's 110. If it's straight, but it's got these little butterfly cutouts on it, then you know you can use a 110 or a Krone. So these are handy. In fact, these ones here come with these nice little connectors on top, and you don't even need to use a Krone tool on these ones. You just push the wires in. Just connect two wires up just to show you. Push the wires in there, and then push that down on top. And that's made the connection. Yeah, you just snip that off then. So that's quite a handy little one. And you can see there, that's where it's made the connection there. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's it basically. Different types of tools. It's up to you which ones you get. Cheapy one, very good one, or intermediate one. And you now know by looking at the faceplate you're working on or the telephone socket, you know whether to use a 110 tool or a plastic tool. There's no point in forcing it. Get yourself the proper tool and you know you've done a proper job, because You might be fine. If you do it and you force it in, you might be lucky. But what happens a few weeks later, if that metal V is a little bit wide, you start getting a noisy line, it's just going to cause you a headache in the future. So get yourself the proper tool. I have got a proper 110 tool somewhere, but I can't find it. I spent half the day looking for it and it's gone missing. But you can get them on eBay pretty cheaply. Again, it's the same sort of thing. You can spend up to 30 quid on one, or you can buy one for £1, or you can get like an intermediate one for a few quid. So it's up to you. So you might as well, when you're getting all your sockets in your house, if you're doing a lot of work, I mean, an electrician, definitely get both. And if you've got a project in your house and you're going to be wiring up quite a few faceplates, have a look at the faceplates or ask the manufacturer if they're Krone or if they're 110 or if they're both, and then you know whether you've got the right tool or not. If you want any of these Krone tools, I don't sell 110 tools because I haven't really got a market for it here in the UK. But if you want any of these Krone tools, I do have them in my eBay shop, so please check it out. It's www.mrtelephone.co.uk. Please give it a thumbs up if you like the video, if you found it helpful, and please subscribe for a lot more how-to videos in the future. Thanks very much. Take care now. Bye now.